Hey people, CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 57 of the Greatest Attorney 2 Resolve. Last time, we completed the trial section of this case, and which it was revealed that Gossip was actually Daily Vigil in disguise all along, and that he was living a double life, and that he was basically posing as Gregson some of the time in order to make income. And then basically he recalled the events of 10 years ago, and he basically had a breakdown. And now we're going to be going and doing some investigation. Let's go.
I know. I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to hospital to recover.
Right. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret. Not his family, not even the man himself, but I forced it out into the open. Though in regards to the whole suicide part, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that Caden would have known about it. I mean, considering that he was right there in the office when it was happening. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder? Hey, frankly, Ryunosuke, if you weren't forcing that, Kazuma would have done it all himself.
No!
Oh, Iris.
You were miles away. Anyways, I brewed a fresh bowl of soothing tea for you.
Oh, thank you.
You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh. Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the courtroom back into the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared.
He never existed. We know he was a ghost. He's been dead for 5 years. Oh, no, I don't know.
Iris broke his knees. Iris broke Sherlock's knees. He's in the closet right now.
He just on these strangers' feet and left. All he said was, I must leave.
Sorry.
I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death. Well, you know what Hurley is always saying, don't you? Yeah, mysteries in the world that should perhaps never be solved. For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the
Sorry, I'm getting a lot of spit for some odd reason.
For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else.
What does that mean? Trade one problem for another.
He knows very well that when you open someone else's own wounds, you often open your own too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave one alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him.
That's so true.
But that's what I like about Hurley after all.
I suppose that's the lot of a great detective in some ways. Then Sherlock wants that money. He wants that rent money. He wants to extort rent money out of someone.
So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand. I'll hold up the bank.
Oh, do you have time, Iris?
Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You know, I always hide Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline.
You do? Poor Mr. Sholmes.
I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation.
Though we have examining to do. Lots of examining. Okay, let's see what we have. Everything has already been examined. Hooray. Nothing. Anything. Oh wait, something else can be. Oh, right. Essentially what happened was, back during episode 46. Basically, during episode 46 or so, when this case first started out, I did not like the quality of that episode because I was really tired at the time of recording it. So I ended up re-recording the episode, and as such, this was not checked. Iris' pretty little tea set is out as beautifully as ever. Look.
Well, it's only by carefully taking care of a tea set that you can make good tea.
Is that a roundabout way of telling me that I need to tie up my desk?
Yes, yes, Ryanosuke, you must. Oh, Mr. Naruto, you do overthink things at times.
Okay, everything's been checked out there. Let's go over to... Yeah, we can't go here. Sorry. Hospital bed. Let's... No, I want to go here. I want to go here and check out. Yeah, I just want to make sure that nothing new can be checked out. The legal consultancy. That's what I like to see. Just an entire room full of checked off items. Oh yeah, that is so nice. And we can just focus on the actual checking out, the actual investigation. Okay, let's talk to Iris. Morning's trial.
So, how are you doing court this morning?
Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Van Zeeks definitely didn't do it.
Oh, goody! Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really?
And there was another development too. Kazuma.
Yes, it's quite clear now. Now, Kazuma-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed.
Yes, Edgeworth is possessing him from the future. Yeah, whenever Edgeworth would go to sleep during his demon prosecutor phase, he'd basically have dreams in which he was in the Old Bailey, and he was controlling Kazuma's body. Kazuma starts ranting about the Steel Samurai. I know, I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. At least to people besides Ryanosuke. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Kazuma and try to understand what he's going through. The Reaper's innocence. If Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Van Zeeks has to be innocent, you see?
What? The day before? Well, that should be easy enough to work out, just by examining the corpse, surely. Yes, you would expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy reports. That is curious.
There are still unanswered questions about Lord Van Zeeks, though, aren't there?
Ah, do you mean?
I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place?
Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he?
And it turns out that little room was actually the inspector's secret office.
Ew, that sounds like it always makes it a wonderfully devilish plot.
And now Iris is going basically for Gregson's final inclusion in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. She's going to pay him out to be some mastermind villain. The guy behind all the things that Sherlock has had to overcome. Sherlock's greatest nemesis was his greatest rival. But then why was that notice board in there covered in all those particular papers? Papers about cases with a link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this.
Oh dear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish. We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late.
Yes, how Gregson would keep to all of the alleyways in order to avoid Iris. I never imagined I might have to be investigating an inspector's movements.
Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Redhead League the day before his death. Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley?
Well, Mr. Sholmes was trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating.
I do wish it had been the other way around.
Anyways, as it turns out, the inspector who went to investigate the Redhead League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil, in possession of Gregson's identification.
You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi.
Oh my! Yes, you're absolutely right, Iris. But why would Gregson need an alibi?
It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep a secret. I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips. That's why I extorted him.
but perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar.
I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies.
Well, anyways, if Lord Van Zeeks felt the need to investigate Gregson...
Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows.
The condition.
Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who comes to visit her yesterday? That's right. To ask Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find her missing husband.
Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken into the hospital? Do you know which one?
Ah! It's St. Steiner's.
And then basically and then Courtney cites connections. Go and dissect Vigil. He dies by quote unquote mysterious circumstances on the operating table. I'm starting to wonder if all the hospitals in London have closed down.
But that's amazing, Runo. You found the lady's husband already.
Well, I suppose I have. By accident.
And 10 years ago, while Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration.
Incarceration. What is it? Incarnation. Yes, the professor was born anew.
No!
So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed.
Sometimes I really don't want to grow up.
Iris, you're already grown up. You're an adult in the body of a child. Heck, you're already a mother to Sherlock. Without Iris, Sherlock would have basically walked into the Thames and drowned by now. There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be his stand-in, to impersonate the inspector.
To impersonate Gregsy? But why? Who would want to be Gregsy? Who might live his sad-ass life?
Now I'm imagining just Gregson sending in Vigil to be a stand-in for when Iris demands tribute. For when Iris demands interviews and the like. I had absolutely no idea.
Kenny was right. I'm starting to think all the dots are up to no good now. Including you, Runo.
What about Sherlock? Actually, no. Knowing Iris, she knows he's up to no good. I bet anyone to impersonate me.
That means he has ties to the professor and to Inspector Gregson, though. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you?
Back to St. Steiner's, then. Okay, let's head out. Now, why do I have so much saliva? St. Steiner's Hospital, Ward 3. No one is here. But we have stuff to check out. The board. This notice caught my eye before, actually.
I suppose it's some sort of slogan for the ward. A cheerful welcome message, perhaps.
Let's see. Pay with good cheers, leave with good cheers. Don't pay with good cheers and we'll break your knees. We'll track you down far and near to break your knees. Well, look at that. You were spot on, Miss Usato. It's full of cheer.
I wonder how many discharged patients pay their medical bills with good cheer, though.
Once I had to have a very painful injection when I felt ill with a cold. I felt awful already, so why did I have to suffer the sting of an injection as well as the bill? I yelled at the doctor.
Oh dear, what terrible treatment.
Okay, anything else? Medicine cabinets. There are all sorts of medicines in this cabinet. Look, I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this.
Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try...
Okay, we already read this one. Yeah, make us repeat dialogue. Yes. Rinosuke, the criminal of pills. Okay, more cabinets. There are lots of bottles in that cabinet there, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them up there?
Gee, if you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep.
That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock. Even if it's only a flimsy looking one. Okay, we read this one already as well. Yes, Ryunosuke, the half-asleep master of lockpicking. His lockpicking skill is level 100. Ah, look, a pair of crutches. Before we came to Britain, I hadn't realized they were used here as well.
I imagine they were imported to Japan from Great Britain in the first place.
Oh, so no one in all of Japan broke a leg before their arrival? Anyways, the sight of these things doesn't bring back good memories for me.
Oh dear, did you injure yourself once and need to use some?
When I was little, I thought they looked fun, so I borrowed a pair to play with. But then I slipped and sprained my ankle.
I see.
They contain powerful magic, those wooden staffs. The power to heal and the power to harm. Well, it looks like Phoenix didn't inherit his insane invulnerability from Ryunosuke. Chances are he inherited it from Susato's side.
I think a certain cheeky little boy managed to cause the harm all by himself.
Yes, yeah, basically he inherited it from Eugen, or Susato. Patient treatment notes. What do they say, I wonder? Endlessly obliging. I suppose that's referring to the patient in this bed.
I would think so, and until Mr. Vigil's a little more stable, it's probably just as well that he has a kindly person in the neighboring bed.
The endlessly part is a little worrying, though, isn't it? I mean, what if Mr. Vigil suddenly declared that he'd like to take a trip out the window? Would this endlessly obliging patient simply open it for him and say, "Be my guest"?
Let's check in with the doctor later.
These must be the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Tendency to jump from windows. Remember to place cushion at base of wall outside. Aren't we a story up from the ground here?
Oh dear, poor Mr. Vigil.
I can't help feeling that there's a better solution to the problem than a cushion, though. Finding something you lost isn't always a happy experience, it turns out. Pursuing the truth can be a very dark business sometimes, can't it?
Yes, I'm afraid it can.
Okay, nothing here. Let's move out. Okay, Lord Chief Justice's office. Second November, British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. No arguments, Prosecutor Sogi. You will continue with the trial exactly as instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly.
It's Kazuma-sama.
Defying Lord Strongheart by the sound of it. He never did know when to back down. On your way now, Asogi. My lord. Kazuma. He left without saying a word. Yes, what are you doing here? Oh, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions if you wouldn't mind. I want Van Zeke's trial concluded today. You've disappointed me, Mr. Naruto. And for that, I'm gonna whoop you upside the head with my pimp cane. But Prosecutor Sogi's unwelcome inquiries are gonna make it last longer than necessary. That's gonna make me look bad for the international community. They're all gonna laugh at me. Those damn Morginians are gonna get the better of me. Unwelcome inquiries? As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 41 seconds. 42, 43.
Then we must resolve everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruto.
In a miraculous not even 5 minutes? Anyways, I can't let this man's obvious bad mood put me off. I need information. Sorry about that, sorry. Just hate when my mucus is acting up. Okay, nothing over here, nothing. Okay, we checked out everything. Converse the Reaper. Does Prosecutor Sogi believe that Lord Van Zeeks is the Reaper? I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful close trial, that Lord Van Zeeks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress. But that's awful. The man's freedom was short-lived. He lasted just 3 days.
Yes, let me see. He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe.
Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey. And people believe Lord Van Zeeks was responsible. He was an earthbender, Mr. Naruto. I have bent the earth. Go, my rocks. Boosh. Rock slide hit. It was super effective. He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident. Yes, because Van Zeeks was orchestrating rock slides. So he must have been at a sawed out by then. Yes, apparently he can't control the rocks. Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continue. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences.
Well, the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial.
And the impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated. Is that why it's a closed trial? Precisely. This country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years. So the last one was the professors. The trial of Genshi Asogi? Correct. Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart. Van Zeeks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later. With the son of the man Van Zeeks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way. They do say that what goes around comes around. However, it would seem that the new young prosecutors harbored some ulterior motive as well. Kazuma is? I like my organization run smoothly in the exact manner that I prescribe. As with the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others. Ah, so that's what all the gears are around here are. Sorry. I'm folding my lines up, I swear. So that's what all these gears are around in here. If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine, I will be forced to take steps. He will end up in the Thames. What do you mean? He'll be wearing a new pair of concrete boots. Not something with which you need to concern yourself with. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow. Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours.
Oh my, that is a long time.
And I hold you entirely responsible. Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into a not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Sogi. Discussions between the defense and prosecution outside of the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go! You can find him in his office. Oh, thank you.
Let's go and see him at once, Mr. Naruto.
Okay, Kazuma's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not at all sure I know how to talk to him in the moment. Well, we'll talk to him in the next episode. Anyways, I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer, and I hope you come back for the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever that you want, and without, see you next time. Bye.